everybody. Here we go. First episode of the Truth Garden. We've got Mitchell from Australia here, my mate down under, legend in the truth community. Who's from the YouTube channel Mitchell from Australia. He's very famous for debunking the globe myths and other presentations on his channel. So, mate, Mitchell, thanks for joining me here, mate. First episode. I really appreciate you getting on here and having a yarn.
You're too flattering, mate. Yeah, it's an honour to be here with you on the first episode. Hopefully you get some subscribers and a bit of a following for you, because you got some good stuff to get out there in the live community. Did that just go live now? Was that been?
It's been live for a minute on my end, so I can see. Yeah,
that was a mad intro. I love that. That's so much more professional than me just going, yeah, welcome to the stream. That was sick. I loved it.
Thanks, man. Thank you. Yeah, man. Well, it's just a little bit of mucking around. So I thought I'd do something rather than just, I've got to do something here, because you guys are going to be doing all the talking. So, mate, again, look, I've known you now about 3 years, I think I worked out. And, we've had some exchanges back and forth, texts, a couple of phone calls, and even a few gifts. Yeah, man, it's been a great journey. You've been a big part of, my, I suppose, awakening to the flat earth in particular. And I wanted to kind of get into that a little bit from your end. And I'm really trying to find out the process of awakening. It's really interesting to me. And seeing if we can find any common links about our backgrounds, our past, who knows, mate. But I guess if you could just, kick us off with your story around, firstly, how you got into, I suppose, if you want to call it the truth movement, or breaking the spells of this mysterious realm, perhaps, and then eventually ended up at flat earth. Because I can imagine it wasn't just you woke up one day and it's like, I watched one video and was like, damn, yeah, it's flat. So take it away, brother.
No, I mean, like growing up, like my old man, he always used to watch X-Files, and I used to watch it with him. So like kind of from a young age, I've always been kind of had that mindset that the government could be like kind of not telling us the whole sort of story. Like I'm not saying that everything in X-Files is kind of true, but it just puts that thought in your head from a young age anyway, that like everything that you see on TV, in the media, what you get told at school, it might not all be that's it, that might not be the full story. So I was pretty young. I was about 12 when 9/11 happened, I guess, and like I was expecting my cartoons to come on the TV, and it wasn't. There was these pictures of these fallen towers, and like it wouldn't go away. And I went to school, came back, it was still on the TV. I was like, what is going on? And kind of, yeah, there was talk at school, like the teachers just were like, oh, some planes hit a building, and like my thought in my head were like, oh, it's just like a little plane hit a building and kind of fell down. But like as the years rolled on, you learn that not everyone in this world is nice and happy, and like there's a lot going on behind the scenes. Like growing up, like you're sheltered a bit, I guess. Like if you're not actively looking into these things, it's not in your face. Like you don't really know what's going on. Like everyone has their own world. Everyone has their own journey. Like it depends what you're influenced by, who your friends are, who teaches you these things. Like for me, like I went to school, went to a mainstream system. My parents both worked, so like yeah, school was my main kind of influence, other than like I said, like movies, TV shows, and that sort of thing. But like I already had in the back of my head, like there was just more going on than what I was told by school, what I was told by the media, what I was told by my parents, and I was kind of I grew up in the age where the internet was really coming about, and a lot of free time in your hands. You go looking for things that interest you, and that was like kind of because I grew up with watching the X-Files. I've looked into conspiracies, and so from probably 10, 11, 12, I was looking into wild conspiracies, and kind of made up my own mind if that's true or not. Go down the rabbit holes, and it kind of it all started from, I guess, 9/11. That's where these sort of things spiral out from. There was a lot of wild theories. I distinctly remember looking up 9/11 conspiracies, and this picture of kind of the devil popped up in the smoke, and I was like, what is going on there? Like, whether it's photoshopped or CGI or whatever, but like it kind of spirals out of there. Like, two planes took down 3 towers. Like, that just sends questions through your head, sort of thing, and it all kind of spiraled from there, I guess. Did you want me?
Mate. Yeah, no, that's great. No, that's great. So so just quickly before you get on to just the process of flat Earth in particular, was you mentioned your dad early on. Is he and your mum also, any other family members, did they follow that same line of thinking, or they just watched X-Files as like a form of entertainment, or did they ever, I guess, entertain the possibilities that some of this stuff was real, or
Yeah, I mean, my old man, like he kind of, like, I said to him like a few times, like, is any of this alien stuff real? Is any of this kind of monsters and creatures and things that we aren't be told, like, by the government is real? And he said, well, I don't know. It could be. Like, you have to make up your own mind, and that kind of stuck in my head. Like, you really have to make up your own mind. Yeah. Like, so I suppose from a young age, I was just told, like, just make up your own mind. I wasn't forced too much information, that sort of thing. My mum was pretty alternate. Going down another route. When I was about just past one, I think maybe 12 months, 18 months or something, I had a bad reaction to a vaccine, one of the childhood vaccines. And like, I turned blue, I stopped breathing, that sort of thing. So I suppose I could be classed as vaccine injured. I don't think I had any injuries from that. But obviously, for my mother, like, she then stopped vaccinating me. Like, so, and that's where her kind of alternate journey started, I guess, with me as a young child. Like, why did that happen to me? How can it be stopped again? And like, she kind of went into the homeopathy side of medicine, I guess it is, like, away from the mainstream big pharma, going to the hospital sort of thing.
System,
the masking solutions. And so, like, I kind of I live with her, my mother, predominantly, and like, just the things that the food that she ate, like organic food, the water that we drank, like filtered water. So like, but growing up, you don't think that's too cool at the time. Like, you don't think like, yeah, this is awesome. Like, we're eating healthy, we're drinking healthy. Like, you just kind of want to be normal growing up. So like, for me, it wasn't. It was more like, oh, I don't really want to be part of this too much, but like, it was just always there. And kind of looking back on it now, it's just so important. And like,
it was the perfect vessel to bring you to who you are now. And
I mean, like, just the filtered water, just not having fluoride and chlorine and all the stuff that just drags you down, like, that we're all exposed to daily. Like, possibly just opens your mind up to more things than just kind of just accept the mainstream sort of what you're told at school, what you're told by the media. Like, just healthy eating, healthy drinking, So like, I took it for granted at a young age, but that probably also allowed me to just discern information a lot better.
Yeah, I think so, mate. And so were you sort of, asking those difficult questions in class going through schooling, and did you go to university as well, or?
No, so I went to year 12. I did pretty well. Like, I did physics, I did quite well in that. I topped my class in maths. So like, I've got a like pretty good understanding of kind of the school kind of subjects and education and that sort of thing. I didn't put it to good use. I thought, like, after school, like, I don't want to do any more studying. I'm sick of this. Like, I did all right. That was good enough for me. I went and did a trade, didn't go to university. And like, I worked for a pretty big company, did my apprenticeship there, and I became a cable jointer. So that's what I was doing for the past 12 years, except for the last 6 months. I haven't been working for 6 months, but just because of everything that's going on, all the mandates that happen and that sort of stuff. But no, I didn't further my education past school, but like I'm homeschooling now, and that's
Fantastic.
actually where it's the best choice we've ever made. Like, we've been homeschooling for 3 years now, before all the COVID stuff. So like, we did it before it was cool.
And how do you go about, this is always the question people want to know is, homeschooling. Oh, the kids won't socialize, or they won't, so obviously you've got to actively make an effort to do that. But what do you guys do to sort of, ensure that your kids are, mingling? I think you're at soccer tonight, aren't you, mate?
Man, that is the biggest load of shit ever. Like, that is the go-to. I'm not saying it's a cliche question from you, but like, that's usually where everyone goes. Like, homeschooling. Oh, I knew a homeschool person, and like, they weren't social. Like, they were a bit social backwards. Like, we've been in the homeschool community now for about 3 years, as I said, and you kind of get the feeling that there's a few groups why they homeschool. The first one's because they don't really fit in at school. They can't really focus. They have trouble kind of fitting in with the system, and like, I'm pretty sure everyone could fit into that category, but their parents just went, well, I'm not subjecting my children to that trauma, so I'm going to pull them out, sort of thing. So some people are already socially a bit awkward and inward, and that's fine. Like, I'd rather just be with my kids and my family than going out and socializing and interacting with people, if I'm honest. But and there's the other side of like totally getting away from the system that we just kind of came to. We just saw that that the system was letting our children down. Like, we had our eldest son. He's now just started high school, homeschooling high school. He was in the school system for 5 years, and like, he loved it. He really excelled. He was a bright kid. He fit into the system really well. But it was kind of getting to the stage where other kids weren't fitting in too well, and like, were hassling him. Kind of like, he was athletic, he was smart, he was pretty popular, but like, it just kind of gets to the point where we feel like not only were kind of kids hassling him and that sort of thing, he was getting into fights, and he got suspended from defending himself, that sort of thing. Like, not only that, it was the school system just wasn't kind of stimulating him enough. Like, we asked him, like, what do you learn at school today? And he's like, oh, a couple of things, but we mostly sat on our iPads. And that's just a reality of school at the moment. Everybody has an iPad. All the free time's taken up by iPads. They can do pretty much what they want on the iPads. Like, I think there's a few filters you can't look up inappropriate things, but like,
so
that's
it's
just
like, once you learn reading, writing, and arithmetic, I mean, at school, what else is there? Like the rest, anyway.
Yeah, it's we just felt like, he went to a state school, so like, just a public school, but we just felt like the system was letting us down, letting him down. Like, he wasn't being stimulated. We could do better ourselves, sort of thing. Like, because like, we only put him into school because we thought that was the best thing for him, and when we saw it wasn't the best thing for him, we just go, well, let's give it a crack. Like, my partner, my wife Niala, she's really switched on. She's like, well, I can do better than the teachers. So like, pulled him out. Like, I was still working it.
That's a big part of it too. You both got to be really on board with it, and
it's tough. Like, it's a full-time thing. That's why part of the reason why I haven't actively gone to go back to work, because we got 3 kids homeschooling now, and it's literally a full-time job. Like, with high school anyway, like, it's 5 days a week. Like, the program that we do is 5 days a week. The other 2 kids are like 3 days, a couple of hours each day.
Is that program then, obviously this is just a dumb question from my end, I would imagine, but does that have to be ticked off by the state, or who sort of oversees that?
Yeah, look, once it's a pretty much free for all. Once you kind of you register, you get assessed by an authorized person. They either come to your house, but last couple of years because of COVID, everyone's been freaking out, so they don't want to come to the house and you just do a Zoom call. You get ticked off for like you just tell the people what you're going to be teaching the kids, how you're going to be assessing them, what program you're using, and then you pretty much got free range to do whatever you want. Like we use for the primary school, My Homeschool Australia. We thought that was really well because once you purchase the year, you can just reuse it. And I've got 5 kids, we're just going to reuse it over and over again. So we preferred to go more of a structured kind of actual like kind of package system, because like we can choose like whether we teach them absolutely everything in that package or bits and pieces. Like, but our kind of philosophy is like teach them as much as we can, but kind of give them the tools for them to discern the information. Like, is that correct? Get them to ask us questions, get them to question what we're teaching them, because like that's just the biggest thing. Critical thinking skills are the best thing that anybody could develop, and that's what we try to promote. Like we teach our kids about the globe, but we say like, what's wrong with this, and get them to kind of break it down for themselves. And it's through doing that. Like, we don't say the earth is flat, you must believe this. We give them all the tools that they need to look at the information given about the globe. Are we spinning? Is there curvature? Is the sun have a distance? What is the sun? Like those sorts of things, and get them to break it down. And I just say, whatever we teach you, whatever you learn, just give yourself, like, look for the information so you have enough information to know that is true, sort of thing. Like, everything that we're teaching you, think of it as it's not true. Like, they're trying to trick me. It's not true, and kind of go after in a way, like, take the information on in a way that kind of make sure it makes sense to you, make sure it is true, it works in reality, sort of thing.
Well, that's a good point, mate. I think teaching those critical thinking skills are so highly relevant in a world full of misconceptions, and I like to call them spells, and disinformation. I mean, you think you're getting to the truth, and then bam, you get thrown something that's just a spanner in the works that sounds like it could be true. Then you dig deeper, and it's totally wrong. So just having that ability to be able to think like that is so awesome, mate. And that sounds good. Your kids are going to really appreciate that when they're older, I imagine, because we obviously, as you know, bro, we just get taught how to regurgitate, how to memorize. I was never good at remembering the textbooks. I wasn't. But I don't remember getting taught, I suppose you get that little bit of problem solving in mathematics to an extent, but that's just math. It's not really critical thinking. It's anyway. No. Mate, speaking of flat earth, my man, go back to my original question. How to just describe that process of that, when that final penny drops for you, because I often think back to that moment for me, and it was special, man. It was a real wave of euphoria, sadness. It was mixed emotions all at once. I felt like my heart was getting ripped out of my chest, but I was enlightened and happy. It was, and anyway, tell me about the process. Was it a matter of months, weeks, days?
Yeah, it wasn't overnight. Like, by the time I got to flat earth, what was it, 2016, I think it was for me. By the time I got to flat earth, like, I had to have a couple goes at it. Like, I think I saw Eric DeBay's 200. Like, I'll build it up. I went through all the conspiracies, went through the damn lizard people and all that stuff. I don't know if that's true or not. Like who knows? Like, like you go into these conspiracies, you look into them. You have to you don't have to make your mind up. You can just like take bits and pieces. You can just go, well, that's interesting, and move on. Like, you don't have to go like, because there's so much information about this that so many people think there's lizard people, doesn't mean it's true. Like, it's sort of like, I'd been through all the conspiracies. I was really into aliens. I was in the mindset that that aliens were real, like that we were being visited. There was so much information about people being kind of having experiences and that sort of thing. So I was really into the heliocentric model. Like, I really loved space. I really loved the idea that, like, there's more to explore. There's things coming here. We can go places, that sort of thing. So I was really into the heliocentric model. But upon here, I was doing night work at the time. And so I had a bit of downtime to I was meant to be sleeping during the day, but like I just couldn't sleep, and I was just looking for that thing that I haven't kind of looked into yet, because it kind of got to a point where I was bored with the conspiracies, like there wasn't really anything I hadn't heard of. And then kind of flat Earth came up. Like, I had heard about flat Earth before. I never looked into it. I thought it was the most stupid thing in the world. Like, and then I saw a video about 200 proofs, Eric Dubay's 200 proofs, and like I was trying to go to sleep. I was just listening to it, but like I listened to one after another, and it kind of got me ticking. Like, it got me a few. Like, I was thinking, nah, this can't be real, because what about the Southern Star rotation? What about, like, we can see ships going over the horizon, that sort of thing. So I was kind of like, I just can't see how it could be flat. But like, then again, there was some things that he was saying that just kind of made me think, like, if the atmosphere was next to a vacuum, how is it not being kind of sucked out or blown out, or how is it still here? How are we breathing? And like, it kind of got me thinking about gravity. What is gravity, sort of thing? And so I suppose it all stemmed from that 200 proofs, and like, that was only just a one-off video. I think I didn't look into flat Earth after that until maybe a couple of months later. And then some stuff about Mark Sargent popped up, and his Truth Frequency radio show was like, I was already listening to Truth Frequency radio, like some other conspiracy shows that I was kind of really into. And the next show after that was Mark Sargent. So I thought, all right, well, I'll listen to a flat Earth show, see what he has to say. And he had a subject matter expert on. I think it was one of the master gunners, and he was just talking about their manuals teach them that you have to treat the Earth as flat and stationary. And that kind of really hit home to me. Like, why would they have to, like, the world's meant to be spinning. It's meant to be a globe. Like, if you're shooting over long distances, like he was describing, like tens of miles, you must have to account for the curvature of the Earth. You must have to account for the spin of the Earth, the Coriolis. And the way that he was describing it was, no, there's none of that stuff. All our weapons work on the basis that the Earth is flat and stationary. And like, it was all downhill from there as far as flat Earth is concerned. Like, Mark Sargent had a few, I think he had 10 subject matter experts at that time recorded, and I just went through them one after another, and it just became more apparent to me that this world that we live on, it might be flat, it might be contained, it might be stationary. And so it's kind of Mark Sargent or his subject matter experts. I'm not going to blame him like Rob Skeever did. You ruined my life, sort of thing. Yeah. It was more of his subject matter experts, like the people he had on. And the rest is history. I just kept looking into it up until the point where it kind of
still going.
It's still going. Like, there's
never
still
ends,
things.
does it? Like, it does. You come to a point where you're like, we don't live on a globe. But in terms of trying to, it's my daughter to get in, I think. Nah. She's having a cry now. It's at bedtime.
I love it.
What was I? Oh yeah. So you obviously well, for me and you and many others, you get to a point where you realize what it is not. Finding out what it is never ends. Is where I was going.
Yeah.
With that.
Yeah. Exactly. I still can't. Like, you kind of have to get to the point where you're just comfortable with not knowing things. I think that's a lot of people's fears. Like, because the heliocentric model has an answer for absolutely everything. When you get to flat Earth, and some people like me, I can't say I have an answer for what the stars are, what the sun is, and that's a problem for people. People can't deal with that. They need to, if you get into the mindset of, you've just taken away everything that I know. You need to replace it with something. Like, give me something. What is the stars then? Why are they moving? What is the sun? Like, what is its purpose? Who, like, why are we here, sort of thing? And there's things that we just can't answer. But the things that we can answer is our reality. That's what my whole YouTube channel is built on. Using reality as your teacher. Flat Earth School is our flat Earth around us. I'm not the teacher. I'm just a student, just like the rest of us in this beautiful Flat Earth School. It is the best teacher you could ever have. You just need to open your eyes and look around you. Prove to yourself where you are.
Yeah. No, that's spot on, mate. Well put. Yeah, your Flat Earth School was great, mate. It was right in the time when my daughter was born. I didn't get to tune into all of them, but yeah, I listened to a few. So that was well done. Really well put together, just using nature. And I think, we almost have to forget to an extent what we were taught. It's very hard. It's not an easy thing to do. It's such a core part of our it's a foundational part of our core growing up. You know, as we all know, you get shown that thing, that spinning globe on day one at kindergarten. You get space, you get dinosaurs. I mean, that's a whole other topic. You get space dinosaurs. You know, you get everything. And so people need to sort of. And why would you think, if this is a difficult question, and we might be getting a bit too hard to answer, but if you could sort of theorize as to why some, everyone's different, we have different upbringings and everything, but why people really need to grasp onto that globe so much, because even the truth, a lot of the truthers that I've met personally, and especially with the current events, to see straight through that sort of stuff. 9/11, the not so federal reserve that has no reserves, the fiat banking money system, they can see through it all. But when it comes to this topic, there's just a block there, mate.
Yeah, it's just so polarizing. Like, when you come to Flat Earth, like I dismissed it straight away. I think it was, maybe I did see something about the Flat Earth Society, and like I just thought it was just such a load of shit. And it is. The Flat Earth Society is a load of crap. I mean, like they are definitely controlled opposition. Like they have done nothing good for the Flat Earth community besides put that name Flat Earth into people's heads, but in a really negative way. Because everything about the Flat Earth Society is just it's not reality. We're not moving upwards at 9.8 meters per second to fit in with gravity, because gravity is not a thing. Like, gravity is only ever a thought experiment, and not even that. I can't even say it was experiment, because there is no experiment. It's got no science. It's got no backing.
An apple fell from a tree.
Apple fell from a tree. And we've well, did the apple fall from the tree, or did the Earth rise up to meet it? Because that's the if you wanted to go into gravity, that's the common accepted explanation for gravity these days. Gravity isn't a force. We get told time after time by Neil deGrasse Tyson, Brian Cox, all these people saying it's George Musa. He was a good one. Gravity is not a force. It's literally not a force. They were his words, but you can think of it as.
We don't know what it is.
We don't know what it is. Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson get asked, what is gravity? I don't know. Next question. But the accepted explanation of what gravity is now the conceptual meaning of space-time, caused by uneven distribution of mass. That's just what it is. Like, people who refer to Newton, that's incorrect. That's 107 years out of date. So, like,
everyone goes there, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, that's where everyone goes. Me, I did physics for year 11 and 12. I did really well. I was good at regurgitating the formulas, using forces to get to like the orbits and trajectories and things kind of moving and that sort of thing with forces. But we don't get taught. We did touch on Einstein, but Einstein is the current accepted explanation for why things go down. That is the mainstream explanation. But it's not just things going down. It's things going up. It's things going sideways. We're moving. Things are moving. But it is literally just a concept. It's gone from Newton being a physical force to just a concept, and that's what gravity is now. But so kind of back to your question, why is it hard for people to kind of make that leap into flat Earth, like kind of get rid of our belief systems of the heliocentric model? It is just peppered into our brains from a very early age. Like you said, there's a globe in the classroom. It's on TV. Every single children's program that you watch on TV, like if you put your kids in front of a TV, they all are based on space. They all have globes in them. They all based on the heliocentric model, just to drum it into your kids from a really young age. Even though I talk about flat Earth with my kids and they have a strong understanding of how the world works, they still come into me saying, like, look on TV, like it kind of just makes sense. Like, could space be real? And I just remind them, the gas that we're breathing is really nice, isn't it? Like, how is it staying here when we are next to it? We are told space is a vacuum. You know what happens when high pressure is next to low pressure, and they answer the question for me, and they kind of so even though they have a strong understanding of their reality, sometimes they just kind of, it's easy to fall back into it because you get peppered from all angles. Like, even though we're homeschooling them, there's no teachers saying, yeah, that space is real, we're on a globe, we're flying through that space. There's no one saying that to them except for the TV, and the TV works, the indoctrination works. They still kind of they kind of say it in a joking way. They don't come up to me and go like, it's not flat. It's definitely not flat. They kind of go like, oh, look, there's space, Dad. Now, do you believe in space now? I'm like, isn't it funny? It's always a cartoon. Why can't they show us real? Like they don't even really try, and kids kind of believe it. It's always cartoons. There's never real pictures of space for kids, and still yet they believe it. So it's just from a really early age. It's not just the information.
Easy to capture, right? When you're a kid, your imagination, and get told stories, and you just so
as a kid, your brain's a sponge. But then going through puberty and that sort of thing, like my son, he's 12 now, and like it's already started for him. He's moody. He kind of wants to do his own thing. He wants to make his own decisions, that sort of thing. And when you've got influences that are kind of pushing children one way, especially when it's kind of to do with information and popular things, children get drawn to that. If say if flat Earth was popular, they would be drawn to that. But because the heliocentric model is popular, everybody thinks they don't want to be the odd one out. They don't want to be the one going against the grain. They don't want to be kind of questioned out and singled out and kind of ridiculed with their peers. You just don't want to step outside the norm, especially going through high school.
Well, it was even difficult for me at my age, mate, to finally come out of the closet and tell my folks, even my wife. She's like, I don't want you to be a flat Earth person, but yeah, she didn't last long, mate. We spoke about it, and she's cool, but even for me at my age, it took me a while to sort of really beat the drum. What about you, mate? Was that once that penny dropped, were you out there just telling everyone, like, because it's hard not to, because you're like, you want to share this truth, man, this like knowing.
I've never been someone to kind of to ridicule people on the spot, sort of thing. Like, I'm not confrontational. I don't go up to people and say, yeah, why do you believe in the heliocentric model, that sort of thing. Like, if came up with conversation, I'll talk about it, but I don't actively go around to people in their face saying, like, you need to look into this. Like, everyone's got a personal journey. Like, nobody came to me and said the Earth is flat, you need to look into it. Like, I got there by myself, and if people get there, that's fantastic. But the majority of people, probably won't get there because they just don't want to. And if someone gets in their face and says the Earth is flat, like, you need to look into it, why do you believe in a globe, that sort of thing, that kind of draws people even more away from reality. Like, they don't know it's reality, but like, you have a nutcase come up to you and start kind of chanting in your face. Like, I'm not religious, but like, when people kind of are religious to me, it kind of draws me away from that subject. I don't really want to have anything to do with it. I don't want to look into it. That's just me anyway. So I don't go up to people on the street and like and talk about flat Earth and that sort of thing. But I've actually only just recently met in person my first flat earther. Well, yeah,
Special.
met someone who is a flat earther.
Yes.
Sorry?
No, mate. Well, that's special, dude. I've recently as well met two, and funnily enough, they both have YouTube channels, and they're local here to the new area I've moved to.
That's awesome.
And I ran into both of them up the street, and I knew one because he's always got his face up, but the other guy, I didn't actually know he had a channel. You ever heard of? I think I've messaged you, so anyway, but I just heard him talking about the mandates and stuff, and he said the word flatten the curve, and I said, isn't that interesting terminology they used as I walked past? And he goes, why is that? I said, well, we don't, what's to say the Earth's a globe? And he goes, we need to chat more. So it was a special day when I met my first flat earther.
Well, what happened for me is like we were traveling, we had the caravan, I pulled up at a caravan park, and he just said, like, what's your name? I said, Mitchell, and he goes, not like in a joking way, he said, not Mitchell from Australia YouTube channel, and like he's just writing things down. I'm like, yeah, I was expecting him to be a troll, because I get so many trolls. Like most of the comments on my channel are trolls, and like I was like, how's this going to go? We're even going to stay here tonight? And he looked up at me, and he's like, oh my God, I want to shake your hand. Thank you so much for kind of, just the information, that sort of thing. And like, luckily enough, he was a flat earth. And so like, that was just by random chance that like, I kind of stayed at the caravan park where this bloke was working, and that was the one and only flat earther I've ever met in person. So
unbelievable.
That's pretty
only
cool.
One, and you've been sort of out of it since, what did you say, 2014? You've kind of
2016.
Yeah, unbelievable, man. But it's a fascinating topic. I love, I love where it's going. I love the, like Globusters get right into, trying to unveil this realm, this, what is it? What could the sun be? What could the moon be? I love where it's going. And just imagine, I try and tell people this, if those resources that NASA got, or just anyone, you don't even need 60 million a day, but say you got a 20th of that, a 10th of that, whatever. What could we uncover if we just work together? And imagine how amazing this place would be. And in saying that, man, I've got a question for you. I know it's going to be a hard one, but if you could snap your fingers and go north or south, I think this one come up on your podcast once, actually. Where would you go?
What do you mean, north or south?
North Pole or to south, if you could, if you could do it.
Yeah, absolutely south. Like the north, it just seems like, I was actually talking about this with my wife the other day. There's just so much information, so many videos, so many people living north that can go to the North Pole, that can get close to north. Like it's just, not only are they meant to be polar opposites on a globe, the flora and fauna are also polar opposites. Like in the north, there's so much wildlife, there's things growing, there's so many people living far north. And then you look south, and the further south you can get is Chile, and that's not even remotely as far north as you can get as south. So like, sure. Absolutely, I'd want to go south and see what the hell's down there. I want to see if there is a 24-hour sun. I want to just be there and experience what it would be like, because as far as I'm concerned, I haven't had been shown or seen any videos of the 24-hour southern pole, if you like, sun, that convince me. Like there's only a handful of them, and they all are really obvious that it's CGI. Like there's the same clouds going past. It's just, it's not convincing. So I did actually plan to go before but when I was first kind of looking into flat Earth, I did plan to go on a trip to Antarctica. Like you can just from Melbourne, you can just take a plane. It's a 12-hour flight, 6 hours down, 6 hours back, and they claim that you see the midnight sun. I never got around to doing it, but it is something on my bucket list that I can do, and it is something that anyone can sort of do. Like I'm not under the impression that Antarctica is off limits. It's got like laser-eyed penguins and military, and I don't know what's down there, but you can take a commercial plane down to Antarctica and you don't get out. But if you can see the sun all the way there, all the way back, like it's going to make me question, how does this world actually work? Like, and I'm not really under the impression that Antarctica is a ring around the outside of the Earth, like the AE map. Like it has so many problems. Yeah. I don't box myself into a map, like a layout of the land.
You can't, right? Like,
you just don't know. There's so much unknown. Like there could be more land. Like we only know what we are told. Like there's very few people that can go out there and explore things for themselves, free range sort of thing. It takes a lot of resource, takes a lot of money. But like I've traveled around Australia a fair bit, and the east coast, the kind of south coast of Australia, it's as far as I'm concerned, it's pretty well mapped. It kind of the distances that we travel and the geographical features that we've been past, they kind of line up with the maps that we're shown. But the maps that we have, all the maps, they are measured from a flat Earth. That's the only way you can measure terrain. That's the only way you can measure elevations in the terrain, the topography. It has to be a flat baseline, and that's kind of where, not exactly that argument, but that's kind of the argument that is prevalent right now in Flat Earth Debates. Nathan Oakley's channel, he does the best work I've ever seen. Like him and his panel are just at the cutting edge, the spear tip of the flat Earth argument. And the number one flat Earth proof for me anyway right now is celestial navigation. If you want to go into that a little bit, like
sure. I'm familiar with Nathan Oakley. He does great work. I think you had him on your stream as well once, or the pod, or maybe on Dome Life, both even.
We had, for those who don't know, I used to do a podcast with Paul on the plane. Went for a couple of years. It was awesome. It was so much fun.
Is it still? We can still listen to that. I haven't since it finished. I haven't even tried.
I don't know. I hope it's still on. It was on SoundCloud. It might still be on Paul's YouTube.
It's a great learning tool, mate. That and the Dirth's one, that he's done with was it Curious Joe and then Matt Long. Matt Long. So for anyone driving and just wants to listen, the Flat Earth podcast, check it out, and Dome Life as well. That was fantastic.
That was good fun. Yeah, we did have Nathan Oakley on once, and the guests that we had, like it's awesome. Like that was so cool, and it kind of from there it sparked kind of what my YouTube channel is today, sort of thing. Like it really made me get into kind of actually physically going out and doing experiments and that sort of thing, and observations. Not really experiments. I don't think I've ever done something that I could say was a proper experiment, other than Anthony O'Reilly's egg test. But that's a kind of different topic. We can come back to that. But
sure. Celestial navigation. Give us the rundown, mate.
Celestial navigation.
Apart from the stars not moving, like in the globe, not moving. They obviously rotate around the northern star, but in terms of the heliocentric, is that kind of this heliocentric model where we're just flying through this vast wilderness of vacuum? Is that kind of where you're going with that? Like, how else would you use the stars to navigate, or is it more in depth than that?
Well, the stars in celestial navigation, the stars don't have distances. They're just points of light in the sky, and they are they're predictable. They're cycles. So we've got something called an almanac, the nautical almanac, the air almanac, all these almanacs that predict hundreds of years in the future and hundreds of years in the past where the stars were, where the stars are now, where the stars will be. It's a predictable cycle. But that's not really the number one flat Earth proof. It's measuring the angles to these stars. The first step in celestial navigation is you must measure an elevation angle. And the only way to measure an angle, anyone who knows anything about geometry, this is like kind of second grade sort of stuff. An angle is two straight lines. You cannot have a curved baseline for an angle. And so Nathan Oakley has been, for the past at least 6 months, one of the housekeeping questions is, any evidence that you can have a curved baseline when measuring an elevation angle, because you can't. That it is impossible. There is no angle from a curved baseline. They are two straight lines. If you've got a curve, it's not an angle. It's just
Right.
that simple. You must have a flat baseline to measure an elevation angle. So celestial navigation, however long it's been around, for at least a couple of centuries, probably longer. There were other techniques, and that sort of, like the stars and the sun and the moon have always been used for navigation. But the modern celestial navigation with the sextant, it's a angle measuring device. It can only work from a flat baseline. You must assume that the Earth is flat, and you must, and going on from, like, when you're debating someone, that's the only argument you need to get into. Like the globe believe,
right? Yeah.
it's done. Like, why the anti-flat earthers and the globe believers, their tact to combat that fact that you need a flat baseline is to ask us the next step in celestial navigation. We don't need to go past the first step. That is the winning argument. That is the number one flat earth proof, and they have so much trouble with that. They say you can absolutely have measure an angle to a curved baseline. You can have a curved baseline angle, but they're still yet to show that you cannot. It's just simple geometry. You cannot have a curve when measuring an angle. It just does not compute. And they've got a couple of problems there with the black swan, which is...
Can we pull that up? Maybe we'll pull that up.
Yeah, pull that up there by BMLSB69Bo. Check out his YouTube channel. This image here. So this is from a 1 foot observer height. Well, it says there 5 foot. It's actually 1 foot. That's what it says, actual 1 foot. So from a 1 foot observer height, we're seeing these platforms. Platform Hill House, 6.1 miles. Platform Habitat, 9.4 miles. And those platforms aren't the argument. They're just demarcation points. It is the horizon. You can see it past Platform Habitat, above the bottom of Platform Habitat. You can see where Platform Habitat meets the water, and you can see the horizon in the distance above that. So even if we say the horizon is 10 miles, that absolutely smashes the curvature out of the water. Like the modus tollens is, if P then Q, if P then Q, not Q, therefore not P. If P, the Earth is a globe of radius 3959 miles, then Q, every distance to horizon must be no more than 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. That is just geometry. We haven't made that up. That's what is in the Earth curve calculators. That's what we get told on a daily basis. That's what the Earth curve is. If you're at a certain height, that's where the Earth curve is, and it will block everything from that. So not Q. The horizon in the black swan image is past. It's at least 10 miles from a 1 foot observer height.
And what do you, I mean, just for people that this is new info for, like, what, when you say black swan, what do you mean by that?
The black swan analogy is from Karl Popper. Back before people came to Australia, I think Australia was the first place that a black swan was ever seen. So the analogy and metaphor is that all swans are white. That was a true statement, but it only takes one black swan, one kind of image, one sighting, one kind of proof that someone saw a black swan to disprove that statement that all swans are white. It only takes one black swan. So that's where the black swan comes from. This photo right here, we've dubbed the black swan because it only takes one example of the horizon not being physical Earth curve to absolutely smash all notions that we have a physical Earth curve in existence. It only takes that one example, which this is kind of the first major example that we've really hammered home, to absolutely debunk all notions, all statements that there is any Earth curvature. It is not existence. From July 1st, 2020, that's when this was first presented by Quantum Eraser on the Quantum Eraser channel. There has been no Earth curve. It has been totally debunked by this image. I've since then there's been a lot of black swans. Like I've done my own black swan.
Yeah. Oh, have you? Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if I've seen yours. Yeah, wow. I've been trying to capture my own, but again, like it's difficult. It's not just you could go to the same spot, do and repeat those measurements. It's often, you've got dust, ice, atmosphere, just in general, rain, humidity in the way, and that's probably what people don't realize too. Especially where I am here, it's often quite humid. So I remember last winter. Winter's my only chance to get anything, and I struggled to find one day, man, one day where it wasn't cloudy. And the winter before, I got a few good images, not of this, but just stuff that I shouldn't see beyond a certain horizon, which this is much better to if you can capture these sort of arguments, these sort of pictures. It's hard to argue with. So
it's difficult. Yeah, you're not always going to see a black swan. You're not always going to see a horizon that breaks the Earth curve limits, the physical geometric curve that should be there, because that's what the horizon is in the globe, the heliocentric model. That's what the horizon is. It has to be physical Earth curve for the bottoms of ships to disappear over, for the bottoms of buildings to be obstructed. That's what the horizon is. It has to be physical Earth curve. It has to be a geometric horizon. And just one example, there's so many examples, and you will see it if you keep trying. Just one example of the horizon not being a physical Earth curve geometric horizon, it absolutely debunks all notions of Earth curve. And so going back to celestial navigation, the way that you use the sextant is to use the horizon for the baseline. Straight line straight to the horizon. That's what the baseline is for measuring an angle using celestial navigation. You view the horizon. There's two mirrors in a sextant. You view the horizon through one mirror. You view the star, the sun, the moon through the other mirror, and you can see both things at the same time. You kind of bring that the star, sun, or whatever it is down to the horizon, and you measure that angle. That's what the sextant's for. So you need the horizon, you need a star, and you measure the angular separation between those two. Now, the only way to do that is to have a flat baseline straight from the observer to the horizon. But the thing is, after the black swan became such a problem for the anti-flat earthers and the globe believers, they started to say that's not the actual horizon, it's refracted. And we've had almost 2 years of being told we don't actually see the geometric horizon. We wouldn't expect to see the geometric horizon. It was a massive trap set for them. And now that we're talking about celestial navigation, like we get told by them constantly that when we're looking at the horizon, that the light is bent. That's refraction. Don't we know about refraction? Don't we know how refraction works? That's not actually how refraction works. There's lots of problems with that, but it is a massive problem when they try to do celestial navigation or think that they're doing celestial navigation, because when they look at the horizon, they think that from the observer to the horizon is a bent line. Once again, you cannot measure an angle with a curved baseline. So they've been stepping in, they're putting their foot in it for 2 years before this argument has actually come about. And now they're saying that, yeah, we do have to use the horizon. It is a straight line. Oh, wait, what about the black swan? That shows the horizon far in the distance. It breaks all geometric calculations of the globe.
Do you think, mate, a lot? Sorry, yeah. Do you think? Well, I haven't chimed into Nathan Oakley's channel for a while. Do you think that some of those people who get in there and debate, obviously, there's some genuine, physicists, cosmologists in general that are there who, they've been taught this stuff their whole life, and it's ingrained. But there's obviously some trolls that chime in. Like, do you think it's a mixture of 50-50 that people just, and they don't even want to find the truth, or
well, if you're talking about Nathan Oaken's channel, it is a very, very hard place for someone to go into with a belief that they can't back up. It happens very rarely now.
Right?
They get absolutely pummeled. Like, it is a very hard place for someone. Like, yeah, they could be trolling. Yeah, they could be 100% full belief. They've got their kind of PhDs. They work with like Professor Phil Bell. He works with satellites, or did work with satellites. He's got a really strong belief of space and the heliocentric model. But he brings those beliefs in there, and he can't back them up. like Nathan Oakley's channel is titled Flat Earth Debates. It's a public forum. Anyone can come in with whatever evidence they have. And there's not been one single person in 6 years that he's been running it that has put together a coherent argument to prove that the Earth is a globe. In the first instance, there's lots of trolls. They get beaten pretty easily because they don't bring anything to the table, and like they've got nothing pretty much. But people who are of the belief that they are definitely living on a globe, they bring in pictures of boats disappearing. They bring in pictures of
such an
things
easy
from space
experiment to do, man. The boats over the horizon. I mean,
like I did with the coin.
You don't have to call it an experiment or whatever, but observation, right? Like
observation, yeah. I mean, the Black Swan destroys that, but before the Black Swan, it's just angular resolution. Everything that is optical has a diffraction limit where you just cannot resolve one thing from another thing that's too close to it. The angular separation is just too close. I demonstrated that with a coin on a table. I made a coin disappear as you put it. It was only a 2 meter table. By the end of the table, the coin was gone. I zoomed back in and I could see the coin again. It's all the diffraction limit, Rayleigh criterion. It's all optical. That's one of the reasons. It's not the only reason, but that is one of the reasons why things do disappear bottom up, and it's not because of Earth curve.
Yeah. Oh, too funny, mate. Well, wow, mate, you are a wealth of knowledge when it comes. You are deep into it. I love it. Like, any question I've got, I usually sort of try and ask you, but mate, you are deep in. It's good to have people like you around who are just, I only want to study this sort of stuff, mate. Well, we might have to get you back and go a bit more mad into some of these topics, man, because you know a lot about it. So
yeah, for sure. Like,
I'm just conscious of time here, bro. You probably need to get going.
I've got another 5 minutes if you can keep going. I do want to bring up how we kind of came to meet. I was doing the podcast with Paul, and we encouraged people to leave speak pipes. And one of the speak pipes one day was yourself, and you made an awesome song for me and Paul, and we just loved it so much that we just had to get you on the podcast, and obviously the rest is history. But awesome. you were really talented, man. Like that intro, that was your guitar, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's my guitar, man. Yeah, just little mucking around there. But yeah, no, thanks, man. That was fun leaving the speak pipe.
and I'm into that sort of thing. Like it was a bit, it was a funny song. Well, it was kind of.
That's where I first came across you. You ringing up Dirt's podcast, leaving some might call it a trolling stalker message. Was all done out of love, though.
Yeah, just a bit of fun. Like, yeah, that's kind of how I got my name into the community, I guess. But nice. and the rest is history after that. I just kind of thought back of me doing that to DRH. Like you kind of weren't really trolling, but like just a funny speak pipe, just kind of out of the ordinary. Like, and that's.
I actually had that little riff I had for that. It was like an R&B style riff that my wife and I had put together a medley of songs for a friend's kid who was, I think he had just turned 2 for his birthday. And I really liked that little lick. And I was just sitting there and I was like, I want to ring up the boy. Because I think I'd left 1 or 2 before, but I thought,
yeah.
I like this little, I'm gonna just put some words to it and see how it goes. So it was fun, man. Good fun.
That was awesome,
mate. Actually, that was, you guys had me on your show and we spoke a bit about crypto. That was
yeah. That's why we got you on the show, because we just thought like this guy's fun. Like he's a flat earther, but he's talented, and like he's into crypto and that sort of thing. So yeah, we talked a bit about crypto. We had a good time, didn't we, on the play? I'm not. Don't know what episode it was. Like, there's so many, but
it's towards the end.
It's out there somewhere.
It's out there somewhere.
I think so.
Hopefully, it's still up. It'd be great for anyone that wants to look into flat Earth a little bit more, and doesn't want to just go through the videos to start with. If you're driving a lot, if you prefer just to listen, if you can dig up the Dome Life podcast. It's definitely worth a listen, and also another one to mention, I think we briefly stated before, is the Flat Earth podcast. I think I might have come across another one recently. So there's probably a few more now. I haven't checked, but yeah. Do you know of any, mate? Or
Um, I've just got no free time at all. The only free time that I usually spend listening to flat Earth stuff is Nathan Akeley's channel, because they just have they had just at the tip of the spear. Like, they're the most interesting. They have the best panel. Like, I don't really listen to much other flat Earth stuff. When Dave Weiss and Matt Long decided to do their biannual podcast every couple of years, yeah, I listen to that. But like, I just don't have time to listen to other things. I haven't really come across anything new at the moment, but like, I'm always open to stuff.
I think I saw something in a message on a Facebook group or something. I didn't follow it through because, yeah, man, my time's starting to become more precious as well. But yeah,
becoming a father and
it's awesome, but it definitely it takes up your time, no doubt. But yeah, mate, look, thanks heaps for being here. Episode 1, we just clicked on the hour there. Went pretty quick, eh?
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I really appreciate it. Where do you see this channel going? Like, what are you hoping to kind of take it? Like, I saw in the intro, like, it had a few things. It looks really exciting, interesting. Like, where do you think this is going?
The idea with Truth Garden, like, I debated whether to use the word truth or not, but in the end, I just, it's just a bit of fun. I did it sort of. I just wanted to get it out there and start happening. But the idea of a garden was kind of, I love gardening, which you probably know. We've spoken a bit about that. It's the planting the seeds, mate, because as you sort of said in your cliche,
love it.
As you said in your, sort of earlier on about not forcing it on people, I was probably a little bit guilty of that early on, just with sheer excitement and not knowing really how to control what was just all too much at once. But all I've sort of see myself now is just trying to plant the seeds, man. Ultimately, this is kind of for me in a selfish way, in that I hope to just chat to you guys, man, because you guys have yourself. There's many others I could list off, and I'm hoping to get a lot of them, all of them on if I can, just to chat to them and understand a bit of their background. Understand their process. I love hearing people's flat Earth awaken stories, because these guys don't get to tell that because they're too busy pumping out content. But I want to know. Like, I'm genuinely interested in that sort of stuff, man. And that's kind of my direction, is to get to know the legends behind the content who have helped me out so much. And in the meantime, a diversification of topics that help plant some seeds to, anyone who wants to listen, really. But yeah,
it's mad. I'll be tuning in for sure. Like, I'm really up for that. I like to see the background of how people, like, everyone's got their own personal journey. Like, that's what I just keep saying. Like, there's no right or wrong way to get to flat Earth, as long as you kind of got an open mind and you kind of come to the information and make your own decisions, sort of thing. Like, I'll be tuning in, mate. I'm really excited to see where this goes.
Well, you were my first subscriber too, mate. So thanks for that.
I was the second. Who was the first?
Oh, second. Oh, that was me. Sorry. Yeah. Well,
yeah, you got to sub to your own channel. That's awesome. It's been real, man. Like, thanks for having me on the podcast. It's been awesome.
No worries, man. And thank you, mate. Thanks for going at it. You've put out a lot of content on there. Anyone, please, if you want to get deep into it, go to Mitchell's channel. He is famous for, at best, debunking the globe, as quote Mr. Sensible put it so blatantly. That must have been a fantastic moment in time for you, mate.
Nothing beats the globers debunking their own globe. Like, that's just what happens when a globe believer is kind of shown the flaws in his globe. I went through the Modus Tollens with him, and his conclusion after seeing the Black Swan and the Modus Tollens argument is that, at best, all we've done is disprove the radius of the Earth, and that's all you got to do. Once there's no radius, there's no globe. You got to have the R value for a globe. They debunk themselves.
I was watching that, man, and I couldn't believe those words come out of his mouth. I was like, and you were just like,
man,
you couldn't believe it.
It was awesome. I had Red Pill Philosophy. He messaged me pretty much after it happened, and he said, what the hell did he just say? And I was just like, yeah, I'd say no more. He's done. It's fantastic. But yeah, thanks a lot for having me on the show. It's been awesome.
No worries, mate. We'll wrap it up. Thanks again, Mitch. We'll talk to you soon. So everyone, if you want to check out Mitchell's channel, I'll leave the link in the description. But yeah, hopefully we'll get back for episode 2. I'll find someone. I'm hoping to reach out to Paul and a few others, a couple of YouTubers around here that I mentioned earlier, maybe get them on and stuff. So
yeah, looking forward to it. I'll definitely tune in.
Awesome, man. Good on you, bro.
Okay.
Talk to you soon. Catch ya.
Bye.